Hey there Cosmic Warriors, and welcome back to another video. So in today's video we are going to be taking a look at the intimate relationships, traumas and transformations, all connected with having the sign of Capricorn ruling the 8th house within the natal birth chart. Now I recommend watching this video if you have your Saturn within the 8th house as well, because it just may resonate, but it is more specifically directed towards those of you who have the sign of Capricorn ruling your 8th. Now if you are a Capricorn, meaning your sun sign is in Capricorn, then this video may be for you if you have Capricorn ruling your 8th house, but it may also not be for you. So make sure to go to the video that is really supposed to be for you. So if you have, for example, Aquarius ruling your 8th, then go to the Aquarius video. Or if you have Leo ruling your 8th, then go to the Leo video. I will be doing all 12 signs. However, before we do get started, if you would like to know more information all about Scorpio within astrology, so looking at your Scorpio house within your natal birth chart, along with your Pluto sign and house, as well as your 8th house respectively, then I have created a Scorpio season/archetype ebook. So what I am going to do is I'm going to provide a link to that ebook in the description box below so that you can pick up your copy today. Alright, so with all those introductions out of the way, Capricorn ruling the 8th house. Let's do this. So firstly, we're going to start off by looking at your approach towards your intimate relationships, Capricorn, followed by possible traumatic emotional blockages or experiences that you've went through or to bring to your awareness. And then we're going to finish off by looking at your transformation. So really addressing how you can evolve and grow and rise up from those hypothetical phoenix ashes that are really correlated with the symbol, so the Minerva version of the Pluto symbol. Right, so let's address the approach towards your intimate relationships. The first thing to keep in mind here is that wherever Saturn or Capricorn are located within the natal birth chart, is that it's going to bring delays, it's going to bring limitations. So you may not even enter into a properly intimate relationship maybe until you're a bit older. Or it could be that the intimate relationships that you do enter into before your Saturn return, so Saturn return usually happens from around about the ages of 27 to 30. So before your Saturn return, entering into an intimate relationship may come with a lot of calculating energy, just very cautious, very careful as you move into that relationship, suggesting that you can be a little bit rigid in how you approach your intimate relationships with someone else, or it can suggest that you are just this person, Capricorn, who's just very hard to get through to. So when it comes to the 8th house in terms of being a house of opening up, being a house of vulnerability, especially with someone that you do form that bond with, you may just withdraw from that or be very, very guarded from wanting to share your inner vulnerabilities with somebody else. Perhaps because of your own repressed emotions or because of other certain traumas that you've experienced, which we will get into within the trauma section of this video. But still, it's these things that sort of block you in a way from properly giving of yourself within an intimate connection. And even on that note, you may look at that intimate connection as, well, if it's not going to provide you with some sort of substance, if it's not really going to get you anywhere in the long run, then you may have this tendency to disregard it and just say, well, it doesn't meet my requirements, it doesn't meet my expectations, it doesn't meet my standards, and so I don't see the point. You may not want to really waste your time on certain partners that perhaps, for example, now of course this is just an example, okay? For example, a certain person that you want to form a bond with, right? You're with them for a little while, and then you realize that they have a large sum of money, or they make really good money. You could be that type of person who sees that as a security blanket for yourself. If you then, Capricorn, make that your main priority within the intimate relationship, then if certain real stuff, like emotionally deep stuff, comes to the forefront, then that's something to be careful of, because you could be emotionally manipulated because you just see the materials, or you see the prospect, you see the advances that you can reach from this union with someone else, rather than, oh well, I'm actually going through something, I'm actually feeling a lot of pain, I feel sad, and you may then deny your own emotions in that regard. And of course, bringing along the manipulation and the control and the power plays that exist within the 8th house. Maybe power plays could come into play through entrapment over who has the more power in terms of their status, in terms of their career, in terms of their own financial gain. So that's something to be aware of, because if you get into a certain intimate relationship with someone and then these things are used against you as a way for you to bend to somebody else's will, then that may bring a lot of dissatisfaction and a lot of heartache for you. Another thing could even be where you may have this fear of rejection here, where you're afraid to properly express how you feel or what you want within this intimate connection, because you're afraid of that other person denying you or rejecting you for bringing that out of yourself. Maybe you have experienced this at some point in the past, which again connects in with your traumas, which we will get to. But there are these inner fears that you possess and hold towards properly being connected with someone in that way. You could just allow for certain intimate partners to perform certain acts, to do what they want to do without your say, because it's just much easier to do that rather than you being shut out or left in the cold. So it's good to be aware of these things. But you know, even on the other side of this, of course, because Capricorn and Saturn energy can be very controlling, you just might be very strict and stern and disciplined within that intimate relationship yourself. You may bring a lot of discipline, and it can almost be to a fault sometimes. So you could perhaps be that controlling partner who tries to check up where your partner is every minute of the day. You may be quite jealous of what your partner is doing. You may unconsciously project your own inner fears of rejection onto your partner, and it becomes quite a dependency almost on them to validate your own inner fears, because of how you don't want to be abandoned. And so it can maybe turn into unhealthy emotional patterns of jealousy and rage and control and domination. You may even place certain expectations onto your partner, and if they don't deliver, you could get really mad, or you could be quite resentful and a little bit bitter. You might even keep certain things in as a way to control or dominate or overpower your partner, but all of this can be stemming from those inner demons, those inner fears of you being abandoned and left behind. And I guess then this in a way leads into possible traumas. Okay, so if we were to look at Saturn in terms of the father figure, maybe for you, Capricorn, you have been rejected from a father figure in the past. It could be that your own parents, they went through a horrendous, ugly divorce themselves whilst you were growing up and you were experiencing all of this. It could be that your father was just a very stern and strict person themselves. Maybe they were in a position of authority somewhere, but it was their position of authority meant that you were sort of left out. But whilst they were doing that, your own emotional needs or your own connection with your father was not being met. So there's subconscious, maybe father issues, daddy issues happening here with Saturn in the 8th house or Capricorn ruling the 8th house, possibly. But you know what, also, even let's look at Saturn in terms of the elderly. So of course, well, I personally like to look at Saturn as the grandfather planet, like this old man just shaking their walking stick at all the younger people, like yelling at them to get their acts together and to be responsible. So with that being said, it could even be your grandfather. It could be an elderly person from within your life who really meant a lot to you whilst you were younger. You could have been born into having grandparents whenever you were younger, and them maybe dying when you were a young age was such a profound, intense experience, and just maybe that was quite traumatic for you. So there's a possibility here of you holding an elderly person or your father or a person of authority even to a very high regard, but then that same individual or people even being ripped away from you, being just torn away, and it was done so in a way where it did not provide for you emotionally, and it wasn't fair. Another possibility here, however, is this same father figure just being really, really strict, really hard, really cruel, really harsh towards you. But not even just towards you, but that's just the type of person that they are or they were, and that's just how you saw your father to be. That's just how you saw authority to be. It's like your own perception of authority was morphed and shaped in this very cruel way. And so as you then later go on to enter into a certain intimate relationship yourself, you sort of subconsciously enter into that expecting for that same intimate partner to be the same as your father or these members of authority were. And even on that note, you may subconsciously seek out an intimate connection where it reminds you of your father. So let's say, for example, that there was a trauma associated with the absence of your father. From then the absence of your own father, there were certain things from your own development that were missing. And so as you go on to seek an intimate connection with another person, let's say, for example, that missing thing was you being told, good job, you succeeded, or you should be proud of yourself. Those words of encouragement maybe that you sought for within this father figure, if that was missing, you go into this intimate relationship and it's almost like you're unconsciously looking for that reward. You're looking for that feedback that says you are successful, like you've got it together, you're very responsible, you're very driven, you're very ambitious, you're doing a good job here, Capricorn. Another possible trauma that you could have experienced is really in correlation with joint finances, the joint accounts, looking at then debt. Maybe you have been bounded to debt in the past. Maybe you have gone into a financial crisis or urgent situation involving money with an intimate partner before. This could be where you've been bounded or felt like you've been tied to a certain partner through the finances. It could even be where you have experienced that ugly divorce settlement from your own parents growing up, and you could see just how controlling money can be, how people can be very manipulative with money in that way. Or it could even be where you have been violated in some way by a member of authority. So this is just, of course, an example, but you could have been quite young, maybe not the correct age to be engaging in sexual acts. And so this person of authority who was overage, they could have then abused you in that way. Maybe you didn't exactly see it as that at the time, but still there is this possibility of authority then trying to have dominance over you through that control, through that abuse towards you whenever you were younger. But ultimately what we are noticing here, Capricorn, is with these traumas we're seeing control, we're seeing violence, we're seeing imprisonment, we're seeing you being trapped, enslaved. This could even be your own emotional complexities feeling like they're trapped within you, like you could not speak, you literally could not express just how hurt or how much you needed out of something. And even on that note, Capricorn, this could be a situation where you have been imprisoned in some way within a particular intimate relationship, but you didn't even realize at the time just how imprisoned you were until after the fact. And that is the thing about like manipulation and trauma. It's such a complex area. The reason for why I say this is because people who are who have been victim to abuse or manipulation I'm sorry, I'm coughing so much today, seriously. I need to drink this. I'm so sorry, I've been coughing so much throughout this video. That's why I'm finding it hard to focus right now from how much I'm coughing. But anyways, people who have been through that type of abuse and manipulation, well, if you think about manipulation, people who are being manipulated, they don't even realize that they're being manipulated. And so if you don't realize you're being manipulated, then you can stay within that particular clutches of that person without realizing that it's happening. So then it's only after you come out of it with a new perspective, or from speaking with someone, you know, like a therapist, or speaking with your friend about the situation, do you then realize, oh my gosh, Eureka, like I was manipulated, what the hell? So following on from this point, Capricorn, this could be a situation where you have been manipulated, and through that manipulation you've been enslaved in some way or bounded through money, through sex. That binding then was something that was just so intense, and it really did, like, it made you feel stuck. So coming out of that clutch of that person and sort of rising above it and then coming into transformation, you then can look back on that and be like, oh my goodness, the amount of crap I went through, the amount of hardships that I went through that experience. Like, oh, I'm so glad that I'm out of it, but geez, how did I not know? How did I not see it? And it could even be where you start to get all pessimistic about it, and then you start to beat yourself up for it and think like, how could I have been so incompetent? How could I not have known? And then that whole effect on you, like shaming yourself, right? Capricorn and Saturn energy can come with shame and guilt. And this is just the thing when it comes to us being younger. Whenever we're young, what do we know? We don't know much of anything. We are put into a certain system, we're told certain things to go by, to follow. These are the rules, these are the guidelines, and this is the map to life. And you go into this and then you really think you've figured it out. You think that from all the adults above us telling us what to do, this is how it should be. But then you actually go on to live your experiences, and then you realize, oh my gosh, it's not as black and white as that. It's not as simple as that. There's no straight line here. And what I mean by this is that you're constantly evolving, you're constantly learning, and to then shame yourself for you being in a controlling, unaware, controlling intimate relationship with someone, to shame yourself for that is just not fair on you, Capricorn. And you have to realize that there's so much to be learned from that experience, even if it was really hard and cruel. And this also leads on to the transformation, of course, because of course with the 8th house comes these transformations, it comes these new states of awareness. But especially with Capricorn here, there's a lot to be said about these really hard lessons that you also learn, that you also rediscover. You come out of this 8th house renewed through these traumas. And what I mean by this then, Capricorn, is that you learn a lot about your own inner fears of rejection. You learn a lot from your fears of abandonment. You learn a lot from those past traumas in connection with a father figure, or from a strict and cold member of authority who tried to control you, or from an intimate partner who tried to bind you up to money and finances or sex in that way. You come out of that experience and you can really start to build yourself up again. Maybe there can be this complete just destruction. There's just a complete reset button for you, and then you have to start to restructure your life. Now, of course, this doesn't have to be everything. This could be simply a certain view that you had towards sex and intimacy. You look at that and you're like, right, no, bye. I'm done. Like, get rid of that. Rip it away. I'm starting anew. I'm building on something fresh with this new outlook. It can be in connection with your finances or your money, you know? These joint accounts are like, right, no, I don't need this. It's not practical. It's not helpful. It's not useful for me. Right, I'm done. Ripping it away. Bye. Like, to all those products I don't need. Like, if I want to make this intimate relationship work, this is what I'm doing. This is the new me. You just come to these real hard truths, maybe really hard truths, just really difficult to swallow with yourself, because you realize that by coming to those truths, by getting rid and eliminating certain things that are toxic and no good for your psyche anymore, yes, it's hard to enter into those new things. It may be really hard and it's a struggle in itself, but is it not better to try to see that there's new opportunities that can come with this new direction, with this new sense of purpose through that elimination? And honestly, no matter where you turn in life, Capricorn, there is risk everywhere. So even if you are to stay in a particular toxic, controlling, intimate relationship with someone else where you think that it's safe and it's secure and, you know, you're provided for, and oh well, all the accounts are managed and everything's going well and yada yada, well, that still comes at a risk anyway. There's risk everywhere you turn, and you may just be so avoidant of those risks, or like making those new moves, because you're so cautious and you're so calculated and you're so careful about it all. But I feel like a lot of the transformation has to do with you being courageous enough to take that risk. If a risk involves you transforming and getting better, if that involves you opening up and being vulnerable instead of suppressing certain emotions, suppressing what you actually want, what you truly desire. Like if this is, for example, a deep sexual desire that you have, that you want to implement into your sex life with your intimate partner, yeah, you may keep that under wraps. You may just be hush hush with it, but maybe it would be beneficial for you to just bring it out and let it be known. Or this could even be a particular career that you are denying, that you do not express to your partner because of that fear of rejection. Maybe you're afraid that they will not take your new business plan or your new career opportunities as serious. They won't look at it as a serious thing, or they want to be the ones who are pulling the reins or who are more in control. So you have to really be able to identify these things and come to terms with truly, like, what is it that you want within a successful intimate connection with someone else? What does that really look like for you, and how can you properly build on that with somebody else? And of course, keeping in mind that there's other people involved with this as well, so it's good to be aware of their needs and wants as well. But ultimately, I think with the transformation process, it's a lot about you learning how to get over these inner demons of your fears of inadequacy, rejection, looking at the guilt and shame that you place upon yourself for certain moves that you make within your intimate relationships. Could even be that possibility here, Capricorn, is that you've gotten with someone intimately that is not aligned with your own families, or specifically your father's outlook. Could be that your father tried to control who you could be in an intimate relationship with, and because of you deciding, nah, like I want to be with this person, could have brought a lot of shame onto him or shame onto the family. You could have been looked at as the black sheep. Could even be in terms of your own sexuality and how you express that. So you keeping that locked down, you know, you keeping that in, like you're going to hide your sexuality, you're going to repress your sexuality, you're not going to let on to your family or your father about your own sexuality. Or could it simply be that you place such a high expectation on sex and intimacy with somebody else that you literally close yourself off and guard yourself away from anyone who does not align with those same high expectations and standards. Or this could even be that you're so guarded when it comes to your own sexuality, or you're so guarded when it comes to your own sex and intimacy with somebody else, and so you may withhold sex for long periods of time. You may decide that you don't want to be intimately involved with someone, and so you could subconsciously just put yourself into a trapped place where you become lonely. Of course this can be positive. This can also be beneficial, where, okay, for example, maybe you've went through a lot of inner turmoil, like intense experiences with intimate partners, but then you decide, right, I'm gonna not have sex for a while, I'm not gonna be involved with anyone for a while, and then it's like, right, okay, you can then sort of revitalize yourself and transform through that, and you realize that you can be okay with being alone in that way. But what may even start to happen from this is that you could just get into this cycle of being okay with being alone, to the point of it evolving into actual loneliness, and possibly evolving into bitterness and resentment. Because you were so close, you were so guarded, you didn't want anybody else into your life, you literally wanted to reject all of that noise, and then you get to a later stage in your life and you're like, what's all this for? What do I have now? I just can't help but think that part of the transformation process for you, Capricorn, is really learning how to overcome these pretty cynical and pessimistic thoughts that tell you that you're never going to be good enough for an intimate connection with somebody. And, you know, of course, if you do work on all of these things, I think that there can be such a power that comes from it. So if you do work through a lot of your traumas and your emotional blockages, who flippin' knows? You could enter into an intimate relationship, and that intimate relationship can provide you with a lot of purpose, with a lot of reason. It can really build you up. You can build them up. You can take it seriously. You can just be such a solid, sturdy, intimate partner. You can mature and grow and evolve with that intimate partner. You could even go into your older years with that person, and you can learn a lot from each other. You can learn a lot about the joint accounts. You can learn a lot about each other's bodies and how you can explore each other's bodies sexually. You can learn a lot about how important it is to be connected and to be open, you know, how to open up, how to be vulnerable together, rather than things seeming like this heavy burden and it's just always hard, but rather trying to switch that to more of an ambitious energy, you know, where you look at it as, right, I am determined to get up each morning and I'm determined to work on myself and work on this relationship and really help it evolve and transform. But in order to do all of this, Capricorn, I think there's something to be said here about you learning how to hold yourself and also your intimate partner accountable for your actions. And you know what? It just might be that around your actual Saturn return that you will realize that all of these things will start to matter for you. You'll start to see how all of this really does materialize, and then you will be able to look back and be like, do you know what? It was hard, but I'm here and I learned a lot and I'm a stronger person for it. Okay then, Cosmic Warriors, so that concludes my video on the intimate relationships, traumas, and transformation, all connected with having the sign of Capricorn ruling your 8th house within your natal birth chart. Now, if you do happen to have Capricorn ruling your 8th house, and even if you have Saturn within your 8th house, then let us know what you thought of the video in the comment section. But with all that being said, thank you so much for watching, thank you for subscribing, and of course if you would like to see more videos from myself and you have not yet subscribed, then go right ahead and click that subscribe button. And I will be back with another video very, very soon. Bye!